The kitchen was a mess of cereal crumbs and morning sunlight, but to Jack, it was everything. He stood barefoot on the cold tile floor, flipping pancakes with one hand while carefully braiding his daughter Lily's hair with the other. It was a routine he'd perfected over the last 3 years, ever since cancer took his wife and left him to figure out fatherhood alone. He wasn't perfect, far from it, but he loved hard, and Lily knew it. She giggled as he fumbled the braid, and he smiled, that worn but genuine smile of a man who had lost a lot but refused to lose hope. Most people saw Jack as just another single dad trying to make ends meet, working nights as a rideshare driver and days as a full-time dad. What they didn't know was that Jack had once been someone else entirely. A top-tier military operative. Special recon. Fluent in 5 languages, expert in close surveillance, trained to disappear in any city on Earth. But all that was another lifetime. When Lily was born, he chose peace. When his wife passed, he chose Lily. As they hurried out the door, Jack paused, scanning the street as he always did. Old habits. He thought he'd buried that part of himself, but it never truly left. And soon, the world would remind him why. For now, though, he kissed Lily on the forehead, buckled her into the car, and drove off into a life he thought would stay simple. He had no idea how wrong he was. Rain streaked across the windshield as Jack pulled up to the curb near Wall Street, the city glowing in fractured neon. It was just another late-night shift, another anonymous face stepping into his car, until she got in. She wore a tailored black suit, heels too expensive for the hour, and eyes that didn't match the calm she was trying to project. Jack glanced at her in the mirror. Her hand trembled slightly as she clutched her phone, and she kept glancing over her shoulder. "Rough night?" he asked casually. She didn't answer. Just gave an address uptown and said, "Please drive quickly." Jack's instincts stirred. The kind you don't learn behind a steering wheel, but in war zones and covert operations. Something was wrong, off in the kind of way that prickled the back of his neck. Then he saw it, a black SUV behind them. No headlights. Matching every turn. He didn't say anything. Just calmly flicked on the turn signal, then made a sudden detour down a narrow side street. The SUV followed. His heart picked up, but his face stayed composed. "You've got someone tailing you," he said quietly. The woman's eyes widened. "Just drive. Please." Jack nodded once, smoothly taking another turn, then another, shifting into the part of himself he thought was long gone. The soldier. The protector. He didn't know who she was or what kind of danger she was in, but he knew one thing for certain. He was going to get her out of it alive. The city blurred around them as Jack weaved through the backstreets like a phantom, the black SUV still in pursuit. He killed the headlights, using only the glint of puddles and memory to guide him through the alleys and overpasses of a New York most people never saw. His hands moved with surgical precision, his breathing steady. The woman in the back, Rachel, gripped the edge of the seat, her composed CEO mask cracking into raw fear. "They're not supposed to be this fast," she muttered, half to herself. "Tell me what's going on," Jack said, not taking his eyes off the road. "I got a call this afternoon, anonymous tip. Someone in my own company wants me gone. I thought it was paranoia. Then tonight, I saw one of our security leads talking to men I didn't recognize. That SUV's been following me since I left the office. Why didn't you call the police?" "I don't know who I can trust," she admitted, voice breaking. Jack made a sharp turn, drove through a shuttered construction site, and ducked beneath an old overpass, finally losing the SUV in the maze of concrete and fog. The car idled in silence. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "I've got a safe house," Jack said, finally. "No one knows it exists but me. We'll go there." Rachel looked at him, startled. "Who are you?" "Just a dad," he said, shifting gears. "But I've done this before." And with that, they disappeared into the night. The safe house was a forgotten loft tucked above an old warehouse in Queens, bare walls, faded photos, and the smell of dust and quiet memories. Jack hadn't been there in years, not since he left that world behind. But everything still worked. He moved with purpose, checking locks, covering windows, securing the space like it was second nature. Rachel sat on the worn couch, clutching a warm cup of tea he'd made from an old stash. Her heels were off, her hair loosened. For the first time all night, she wasn't running. In the next room, Lily slept soundly. Jack had called his neighbor to bring her after the SUV was gone. Rachel had protested, not wanting to put a child at risk. But Jack had simply said, "She's safest with me. Always." Rachel watched him now, as he knelt beside Lily's cot, pulling the blanket over her shoulders, brushing a strand of hair from her face. The way his eyes softened, the tenderness in his every move, it hit her harder than the fear ever did. "Why did you help me?" she asked, voice quiet. Jack didn't turn around. "Because someday, someone might want to hurt her. And I won't always be there. But if someone like me is, someone who doesn't ask questions, just helps, maybe she'll have a chance." Rachel's eyes welled up. In that moment, he wasn't just a driver or an ex-soldier. He was a father, pure, strong, and quietly heroic. And she knew she'd never forget it. 6 months later, the world looked different. Brighter. Calmer. Jack stood in the courtyard of Lily's new school, the sun warm on his face as laughter echoed around him. Lily ran ahead, her backpack bouncing, waving at new friends. She was thriving, and so was he. After that night, Rachel didn't just vanish from his life. She showed up the next morning with a police task force, her board of directors, and a personal thank you. But what changed everything wasn't her gratitude, it was her belief in him. She offered Jack a position as head of global security at her company. It came with a real salary, health care, a future. He hesitated at first, he wasn't sure he belonged in that world. But then he looked at Lily, saw her smile, and said yes. More than that, Rachel had started something in Lily's name, a foundation that helped single parents, especially veterans and widows, rebuild their lives. Scholarships. Job training. Mental health support. Jack had never cried in front of anyone but Lily. Until the day he saw his wife's name etched into the foundation's wall. As the school bell rang, Jack leaned on the fence, watching Lily run toward her new beginning. Rachel stood beside him, smiling. "You changed my life," she said. He shook his head. "No," he replied softly, eyes on his daughter. "She did." And in that golden moment, Jack knew, sometimes saving someone else is exactly what saves you.